What's good, family? Top of the day. What does Satan look like in the Middle Ages? I go by the name Pushy Push. If you're interested in content that challenges history, definitely drop a like and subscribe right here to this channel. But let's jump into this one, family. So I've done my research and I've came to a conclusion that our history has a duality to it. Like it has one meaning in one period of time and it has another meaning during our period of time. So this picture right here that we're going to be looking at is an example right here, this church, of what something looked like during one period and how we perceive it during the period that we live in. So if you look at this picture right here, you see basically a pentagram, a star with a circle. And on the other side, there is a Jewish star inside of a circle. And at the top, there are two crosses at the top of the church. Now, what I understand during the Middle Ages is all three of those symbols right there are the same symbols and were used at the same time. And it seems that those symbols right there broke away and became their own religion. But I believe that is something that happened during the Middle Ages. So when I look at the cross right there and I look at the star and then the Star of David, I am noticing that they're both in a circle like a pentagram. So is the Star of David and the satanic star different? And then when you see both crosses up at the top, that makes a bigger connection as to understand that all of that religion at one time was the same. And that is the duality that I noticed in our history is that today, when you look at those symbols, they are individual religions. But I would say that they're all actually the same. And there's scriptures that bring all three of those together. So when we're looking at Genesis 9, verse 5, inside the scriptures, that verse right there connects, believe it or not, all three of those today, what we would call different religions. But at one time, it seems like they all came from Christianity in its deep past. The scripture, it says, and surely the blood of your lives will I require. So this scripture is requiring your life. Each one of those religions right there has a requirement in one way or another. Like Christianity, the requirement was for Jesus. And when you look at Judaism, the requirement was for Abraham. And in Satanism, we look at it as in they require the life of people in general. In the other part, it says, "At the hand of every beast will I require it, and at the hand of every man." So this is saying that it requires man to kill the beast on its behalf, and each one of those religions right there does a sacrifice towards animals. If you go a little further, it says, "At the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man." And each and every last one of those religions have that same verse, meaning Jesus was killed by another man, supposedly in history. Uh, Abraham was going to kill his son, and in the satanic ritual, they have you sacrifice your brother or your loved ones. So at one time, to me, in the Middle Ages, all three of the religions practice verse 9, verse 5 in Genesis. They all do say like sacrifices. Now, I know today when we look at the religion, they're all separate. But during the Middle Ages, I believe that they were all together. And this is the reason why you can see them on one building right there with two crosses, showing you that both religions come from Christianity. I say that right there because that's how history is when it comes to um, a Satan. See, I have an idea of what a Satan is. If you go by scriptures, a Satan is something that is in a furnace, in a fiery place, locked away. And to me, that is a Renaissance way of looking at Satan. But during the Dark Ages, even before BC time period, the Satan wasn't always looked at as something that comes out of the ground. And it's the same way with our religion. You know, the religions were once together and now they're separate. So we live in a time period where that information looks separate from each other, or either it looks spiritualized. But what I believe is that this Satan was something that walked the earth. And this is what we're getting ready to look at during the Middle Ages and even coming to our time period. So when you see these two right here, these two images, the man and the coin, you know, we call that a Satan. We say that that is the creature that is living in hell. And it shows this Satan chasing the woman. And on the right, there is what I call a wild man. And he's also grabbing to like the woman. Now the question is, what makes them two different? See, for me, I see simply two different species, like something from a different type of animal and something from a different type of animal, both being wild men and something that walked the earth during a older time period right there. But that's what I mean when I say a duality, because that wild man would be called a demon, and this image on the coin, that will be called a Satan. And I'm saying both of them are wild men that were like created in a genetic laboratory. So I believe that our past is a lot deeper than what we have been told. Like, I don't believe the horse and buggy theory as much as they have given us. This right here was a scene right here from the island of Dr. Maru. In the movie, the man created animals and mixed those animals like with humans. So you had animal people. And in this scene is a woman who is a half animal person, and she is having a baby. And what was interesting about her was her legs. If you look at the legs, it looks like the legs of an animal. And in particularly, it looks like the man in the coin. So if you look at his legs, the one in the coin, that is what her legs look like. And this is my theory that long ago, even in our BC time period, they created things using genetics, mixing animal with people. And I believe that these creatures probably was used for war, but later was taught how to be civilized. So this creature on the table to me is a Satan, is a wild man. But in the movie, the woman had a child. And when you look at the child, this child doesn't look like a animal man. It doesn't look like a creature. It looks like a normal child, though its mother is a animal person. And this is what a Satan is to me right now in the world. The Satan is a person that is has a different DNA than everyone else. That is what I see a Satan is today. But we've been taught that a Satan is something that is in a fiery place. And that is what makes the Middle Ages a duality, because in our generation, everything is mystified versus the possibility of something being actual real. You know, I see that during the Dark Ages and even before the BC time period, I believe that they created people mixed with animal. And those things right there have the nickname Satan, have the nickname demon right there. If we look a little further, because we've been kind of touching into religion, looking at that church, if you look, the picture to the left, it says Moses manuscript. So this is showing Moses as a wild man talking to a God in a burning bush. If you look to the right, the coin, it says Judaica horn beard Moses. So there is an idea that even Moses was a wild man. And I'm saying I believe that the wild man is something that is created from a laboratory. And I believe that people has mingled amongst it. So in so many ways, this gives you the idea that even the patriarchs of the Bible was wild men. So if we think about that earlier picture where it has the cross and the two stars in the circle, see, that's why I said they were all one. If you look below, there is a wild man, and next to that star. So those are the things that let me know that this wild man is something real, and that the symbols that we see are also associated or connected in some manner to the wild man. But that is on a coin, what some believe to be Moses. And I'm not saying that that is the real Moses, but it's interpreted that he is a wild man. And you can see all the pictures with horns and even with the star that is on the church. When you get to this one right here, this is a female wild man. If you notice, she has what looks to be like deer ears, and she has like bloody horns on her head. So this is letting you know that it has a look of being satanic. And I'm saying that a Satan is a wild man. It's something that is genetically created, and it has been given a mystified image so that we may possibly forget or even don't even take it serious. But I want you to look at this image right here, because that is the exact same image right here. This is the Etruscan horn goddess Vitica. And this is where the Vatican name comes from right here. Literally, the Vatican name comes from this female deity who has horns, who is a wild man, who is a Satan, something that was created in a laboratory. Like I said, in our time period, this wild man, this Satan, this horned one, is in a fiery place. But during the Middle Ages and even going in the BC time period, it's possible these things literally walk the earth. But if you look at that, only thing that separates is the N, like Vatican, that's Vatica, like the CA and the KA. If we look at a bit of literature right here, um, it says at the top, the Vatican was originally called Vitica, and the papacy was originally a Vedic priesthood until Constantine the Great around 312 AD killed the Vedic pontiffs and installed in his place a representative of the tiny Christian sect. So it's saying at the top that the Vatican was originally called Vitica. So the Holy Church has gotten its name from the wild man. So when we think about at the beginning, how I was showing you the circle pentagraph, the circle with the star David, and then the two crosses, that all these religions were one, that in one time period, these religions right here was highly rejected, and they wasn't even promoted heavily to the public. This was like a secret society religion that is now became public for everyone to participate in. But the Vatican, this is where the name comes from. It comes from a wild woman. If we look down below, there's something interesting about the name Christianity. So it says Oakes claim that Christianity was originally a religion following Krishna, and claims that the Christianity was a name called Krishnanity or Krishnanity. So in so many words, they are saying that the word Christianity comes from India, and the Vedic priesthood up at the top also comes from India. So at one point during the 300s, the priest where the Vatican sits was practicing whatever rituals that come out of India. And Constantine basically killed that edict off and changed the religion. So the animal deities, they come from India. That is how Christianity gets its animal deity. It's because in certain places it's saying that Christianity's original name is Krishna Niti. If you look down below, that it can go in the sea or literally Krishna, and they're saying it's the way of Krishna or the ethics of the Lord Krishna. So the religion that everybody follow, so the cross, the circle star, the David star, those religions during the Middle Ages were religions that came out of India, and they were Krishna practices. And you do any study over there, their imagery is filled with the wild man. So this is how the wild man makes it over here into our time period. So we're talking the wild man image traveling from India, going to Ethiopia, going to Europe, and then making its way to America as Christianity right there. But that is why I said that there's a duality to history, because we are taught one way. Someone died on the cross. And then when you get to the older history, you come to find out that this history is talking about Krishna gods right there. If we go a little bit further and you look right here onto the left, it says crafted Vitica, the snake goddess. So this right here is a Vitica. Just like on the right, that is a Vitica also, the horn goddess. So you have a snake goddess Vitica and you have a horn goddess Vitica. So this religion of Christianity comes from where the Krishna comes from. It comes from India right there. That's why they all connect. That's Vitica, snake goddess, Vitica, horn goddess. All of it comes from India. And Constantine killed that Pontiff at that time period who was praising with these type of deity names. I don't think he did any better. I just think that he took over the religion because the Vatican is still named after this wild person. If we go just even into the scriptures, it says, and the 10 horns are the 10 kings who arise from the kingdoms. That is a horn one right there. So in our time period, this story right here is mythical. But during the Middle Ages, during the BC time period, this could have possibly been something real that walked the earth. And it's telling you during a time period that is not our paradigm, there was a beastly people walking around, possibly with horns, and they ruled, and the scriptures is literally talking about them. So if you look, that is the horn, and if you look below, there are other horn kings right there, and along with that star. So the pentagram star, no matter if it belongs to David or satanic, it all is a part of Christianity, and Christianity is really Krishnaniti. So it's something that comes from India. This is where all the dark magic and everything, all the satanic everything, where it emerges inside of the scriptures, where does it come from? It originates in India, and the priest used to praise these deities. This is how you get this image right here of two crosses above both symbols, a satanic star in a circle and a Jewish star in the circle. This religion, it belongs to the wild man, and the wild man in the BC time periods and older was considered to be a Satan, a demon, because everyone knew that this was a animal man, a an abomination walking on land, talking and waging war with the people. If you look right here, these right here are all the many wild man names right here. Uh, to the right, we were looking at reindeer, and the Vitica is the reindeer girl. Um, the wild man is known to be the Lux. It's known to be a Lucifer. It's known to be a Satan and a devil. It's known to be a shaman, a priest, because this is a man, a half man, something that was created in a laboratory that is now walking the earth. It could have started off being a weapon for war, but was later taught how to be civilized. And now I believe it is currently in power and ruling over the world. And this is the Satan that everybody should be watching for, is the one that is here mixed with that DNA pretending to be man. When you look at this book, this is what a Satan is right here. During the Middle Ages, this is what a Satan is. A Satan is a king, a man who has animal DNA. When you look at him, he will look normal, but the DNA in him is not of a normal man. And that Satan knows who he is. So this type of Satan wages war in the land, has fought man throughout history. The scriptures are warning you about this creature man right here that looks exactly like a man. And if you look to the right, you can see that it has castles. And if you look down below in the picture, it has monks. So this wild man is connected to religion. And this is the reason why I showed you the cross, the star, and the David star. I showed you that Moses could possibly be a wild man. So all this bloodline, even the patriarchs, are associated with being a wild man. And these wild men are called Satans in the past. So it's quite possibly you have Satans running the world through a bloodline. This picture right here is a great example. I believe that it is a created man. And I believe that created man has mingled amongst the natural women. And this is how this creature has existed throughout time, is by mingling with the natural women of the world. I believe during a certain time period, we had great technology. We had information that was beyond buildings that were mathematical equations. So I believe that they had the science, and I believe that they were gene splicing, possibly in the BC time period. So these creatures didn't come around in one time, but I believe that they gained power during the medieval times, and this is the reason for why we see them as something mystical opposed to something real. It's because they have gotten in power and have started to change history, to rewrite things to make themselves look more favorable. This is all hard to believe if you think you're the only ones here in this earth. They there are other created creatures. You know, I respect the factor that we have a most high that created us, and I do think that we are gods and we can create. And I believe that our creations is currently conquering us. So that which we call a Satan, I believe is a real person, and it's something that was made out of a laboratory that has been able to evolve by mingling with man. And now it sits in a position of power on the throne, ruling over man. I think that is what the Satan is. And the Christianity, it comes from India. That's why they call it Krishnaniti. And this is the reason why Constantine killed the popes in 312, is because those popes were a different type of priest or a different type of religion of Christianity. And like I said, I don't think he got any better because the images all stayed the same. So with that right there, family, this is just something to look at. I do say this, we are definitely living in a duality, you know, and I'm saying that to be nice. The truth is, I think that we've been grossly lied to and our history has been changed. So, this is the reason why I go so hard and challenge history, because I believe it has been changed. With that right there, family, until the next time, I definitely appreciate you watching this far. Definitely appreciate that. Drop a like and subscribe. I'm always challenge history, and I think that you should challenge it too. And to the next time. Thank you.